What's up, guys? Thanks for coming to Gaming Canada with me. Have you ever wanted to play your old Game Boy Advance SP or your Nintendo DS Phat, only to search your entire house and can't find the power cords for them? Well, today, I'm going to be showing you how you can take a cell phone block charger and a couple of USB cables and make your own Nintendo DS Phat or Game Boy Advance SP charger. Keep watching. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not responsible for any damage that might occur or happen to your Game Boy Advance SP or your Nintendo DS Phat. I'm also not responsible for any damage that you might encounter while trying to build this charger. That being said, this is fairly safe and you probably shouldn't hurt yourself too badly, and you probably shouldn't mess up your Game Boy Advance or your Nintendo DS. We're here on the back of my Nintendo DS Phat, and you can see it's got 5.2 volts in, as well as a little schematic of where the charging port is. So you can see positive on this side and negative on this side. Now that is very important to note because the USB that we're going to use has them the opposite way. So the negative is on the left and the positive is on the right. I'm going to show you guys how we can flip that around super easily, and we'll have a charging cable in no time. The absolute bare minimum you're going to need for this project is some sort of cell phone charging block that can have a USB inserted into it, and it'll probably be best if you can get a 5-volt one. 2 male USB heads with a decent amount of cord. If you had one male-to-male USB, you could cut it in the middle and use it as well. I have 2 separate cables, and I'm going to be harvesting the male ends from both of them and then splicing them together. A pair of needle nose pliers, some electrical tape, and a thumbtack or a pin. We're looking at my completed charging cable that I actually use all the time, and you can see it's just a stripped USB on one side and the other USB goes into my cell phone block charger. Now inside here, underneath this electrical tape, the wires are spliced together, and that allows this to have a complete connection and charge my DS and my Game Boy Advance SP. Got one of my USB cables here, and we need to get the wires exposed, so I'm going to go ahead and use the pliers to cut it. So now I've got the end of the wire cut. I need to gently cut around this so I can expose some of the inner wires. So I'm basically just cutting the rubber casing here. I'm just spinning it and slowly closing the pliers until I get through the rubber. So once you've kind of bitten through the rubber and exposed the bit on the inside, you can kind of just slide the rubber off the end like that. So now that you've got the rubber off the end, you can go ahead and peel back the silver wire. You might see a little ground wire in there like that, depending on what kind of cable you've got. And now you need to open up this foil and expose the wires on the inside. So here you can see there's a bunch of nice colored wires in here. Get a good length of them, and you should have 4 of them: a red one, a black one, a white one, and a green one. Now that you have one male USB with these 4 colored wires coming at the side, you need another one. So do the exact same thing to your other length of cable, and then you'll have 2 USBs that look something like this. So here you can kind of see a finished schematic of how this is going to look. The white and the green wires are going to be off, going to nowhere, and then just kind of taped off so they don't touch anything. The ground and the little silver wires here are just going to kind of be wrapped up and then taped up themselves. And what we are going to be doing is taking the red and the black wires and then hooking those up in reverse. See how the red wire goes to a black wire and the black wire goes to a red wire? That is because I said the polarities are reversed on the actual charging port of the Nintendo DS and the Game Boy Advance SP. I was showing you earlier, the negative was on the right and the positive was on the left. So real quickly, decide which end you want to be plugged into your power block and the other end you're going to end up stripping. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my one USB into the cell phone power block, and then I know that is going to be the end that I don't want to strip the USB off of. Now all we have to do is, like I said, reverse these cables and hook them up backwards. So the positive to the negative and the negative to the positive. This is super simple. We just need to expose a little bit of copper like these ones right here. This is going to be one of the hardest parts to do, is exposing the little copper wires in here without ripping them off. Now, even with a pair of wire strippers, this is pretty hard because of the small diameter of these wires. We're basically going to do the same technique I used to remove the rubber casing around the outside and just slowly bite into them with the pliers and then slide the end off. Now we have exposed ends. Do the same to your other cable. Splicing the cables together isn't really too much of a science. You just kind of twist the cables together. You could alternately solder them together, but not a lot of people have a soldering kit just laying around. So you're going to be taking the red cable and connecting it to the black cable. So you basically want to just twist the wires around each other. I like to do them like that. And then just kind of twist the copper around. So once you get some good twists, you should have something like that. Do the same for the other side. They're not the prettiest twists in the world, but that's pretty much all you need to do. Make sure you got the red to the black and the black to the red. Now we need to insulate these copper sections from each other, so I'm just going to take a little piece of electrical tape and wrap them around each of the copper spots. So you go like that. Kind of tuck the bottom over. And then just wrap the rest of the tape around. There you go. Do the same to the other side. And there you go. So you're almost done. All we have to do is cut off the rest of the cables and then wrap a little more tape around it and pull off the shell that surrounds this little ceramic bit inside of the USB. So if you're left over with some white and some green cables, these are just related to transferring data. And you can see, since we didn't really expose too much copper at the end, I'm just going to go ahead and put a piece of tape separating them like that so that they don't touch, and then I'm going to put another one over top of it. Though I'm just going to go ahead, and you can see, just put that right over top. And now those wires aren't going to be a problem. For this ground wire that's coming off the bottom here and this little bit of wire casing, I'm going to go ahead and just cut it off with my needle nose. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap a little bit of tape around the ground and the part that I just cut there. So now, before we go ahead and wrap tape around all of this and seal it off for good, we're going to have to go ahead and pull this metal casing off of this USB end that we want to plug into our DS or our SP. And this will allow us to test it before we wrap these up and find out we have a bad connection and then have to waste a bunch of tape and get all these sticky tape residue everywhere. It just kind of sucks. So we're going to do a test real quick. So if you guys can see this line that goes right down the middle of the USB here that looks like a little bit of a puzzle piece, that is literally a small split in the USB casing, and you can go ahead and start to pry it open, and then we're basically have to pull it out. It's recessed slightly into this plastic, and it's going to kind of be stuck in there. We're going to have to kind of peel it out and open. I'll show you that real quick. We're going to use the pliers for that. Just be careful not to damage the ceramic bit or any of the connections in there. So the first thing we're going to have to do here is just kind of bend the metal so that we can get a little bit of a gap between the ceramic and this metal piece going across the top. See, I'm kind of opening up the sides there. So this is going to allow me to shift this whole thing and get a little bit of a gap between the top there. So you can see I'm slowly starting to get a gap up in the top there, and this is just going to start peeling away for us. If I can just get a little bit more of a gap. So you can see now that I've got it a little mangled, I'm going to go ahead and take my pin and kind of get it up in the top here and just create a gap between the metal and the ceramic. I'm going to jimmy it over to this side, and you can see I'm already starting to get the top to kind of peel back. So I'm going to try to peel these puzzle pieces kind of apart here. So here we are. I've got my pliers inside it now, and I can just kind of twist her open. So if you're having a little bit of trouble with this part, you might just kind of have to like tin can it. Just kind of grab it and twist, and just keep peeling the USB back. Grab it a little bit lower, twist it more, a little bit lower, twist it more, until you slowly expose the inside. Now be careful, don't cut yourself. So this one I more had to cut off as opposed to my last one. It just kind of slid out. But, you know, it's not too bad. Just be careful, don't cut yourself on any of this metal around here. Kind of shave her back as much as you can. And all you really need is this little end right here. And we're pretty much completed. Got my cell phone charger plugged into an extension cable, and coming out of it is our USB we just made. And we're going to go ahead and plug it into my DS and see if the charging light comes on. We're going to watch the light on the front there. I'll open her slightly so we can see. Here we go. I've got my completed cord here. Strangely enough, the USB I tried to use earlier was dead, and it wouldn't put any power through it. So I went and put my original head back on this. It's still the same thing. It just is one that actually works. So I've got my Game Boy Advance SP that my homie sent me. Shout out to you, homie. And I'm basically going to try to plug this in and see if our little charging light on the side comes on. So it goes in something like that. And wouldn't you know, it's charging. So how freaking nuts is that? Now, this is not a very secure connection. You could go ahead and shave this part down a little bit and hope that it fits a bit better, but this is more of a solution for just kind of sitting your device down, charging it, and then playing it after it's got a nice charge on it. But you can see it's a little fiddly, just kind of pops in and out, but it is actually charging the device. How legit is that? I'll show you on the DS next. So I've got my Nintendo DS Phat here, and I'm going to go ahead and plug this in the back and watch the left light. That is the charging light. Ta-da! So now my Nintendo DS Phat is charging. We can get a nice charge on it and maybe play my old R4, you know what I'm saying? So next thing we're going to be doing is just wrapping a little bit of tape around the cord, making it look a little bit prettier. And then you guys are pretty much good to go. Just the main thing is, make sure when you're using a USB cable, make sure it is one that's not broken, like I tried to use. So go ahead, grab a little bit of tape. You can kind of wrap all these wires up together, and then just kind of start on the bottom and work your way up, I guess. And there you have it, a completed charging cable for your Game Boy Advance SP or your Nintendo DS Phat. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go down to the comments and let me know if you're going to be making one of these or if you've lost a charging cable in the past. Make sure you slam that thumbs up if you haven't already and subscribe for more. I have plenty more content coming. Much love, guys, and peace.